Boosie just pointed a finger at J. Prince Jr. The internet's buzzing and this whole thing's heating up fast. It all goes back to Duke.
We met that dude, Duke the jeweler, the night before. We was gambling. The next day, dude followed us to the concert. When we left out the concert, we under the garage. Dude went to his car by himself and walked down to the parking lot. Man, Lord.
Everybody be checking in. That's your favorite thing to do. Check in with somebody that's gonna rob your stupid ass.
Wow.
Yo, you think that guy, the guy that you don't know in California got your back?
The jeweler who was killed after a Houston show in November 2022. A scene that got called a robbery, but folks smelled something else. Rumors popped off that Boosie was involved or at least knew who set it up, and the streets ran with that story for months. Boosie stayed quiet for a while, but now he's naming names, calling out alleged mob ties, and putting heat on people who've been hiding in the shadows. Now, J. Prince Sr. is firing back hard.
He's a clown. Like, I love the hip-hop culture. I'm in love with the hip-hop culture. Blood, sweat, and tears went in my movement for the hip-hop culture.
Walking to his car or something, some dude tried to rob him. Some dudes tried to rob him. I had just met dude yesterday. We was in a garage. He must have walked outside to the parking lot. We was in a garage. We heard this shit.
Which tells you there's more here than normal drama. People who once blamed Boosie are peeking back, and new questions point toward players who've been lurking off camera. Who really pulled the strings that night? Did the two men who ambushed Duke have family ties to someone bigger? The plot keeps thickening, and folks want answers now. The son of Houston, the so-called hip-hop godfather, looked untouchable, but now the mask is slipping. While Boosie took all the heat, the real mastermind stayed quiet, hidden in plain sight, and the details are starting to look planted. Boosie wasn't the kingpin. He was the setup, the perfect fall guy. He performed that night, supposedly invited Duke, and people say Duke's Louis bag ended up at Boosie's spot.
They could get their money back was however money back. He said, but Lil Cam Wolf and Big Caprice are the three. I'm up, I got the next, and they passed the dice to each other, but they loaded, but they shooting against them up.
Met that dude, Duke the jeweler, the night before. We was gambling. The next day, dude followed us to the concert. When we left out the concert, we under the garage. Dude went to his car by himself and walked down to the parking lot.
Prince, over the years, the decades of doing whatever he's doing, he's been having a way of brainwashing people.
Oh, yeah?
To thinking he's doing one thing when he really up to a next.
But that proves closeness, not guilt. Fall guys are always the ones already drowning in legal drama, and Boosie had baggage that made him easy to pin things on. He'd been through trials before, gun cases, the Terry Boyd mess, old charges people still whisper about, so the court of public opinion already had him guilty. All it takes is one story to lock in the narrative. And now Boosie's breaking his silence and calling out J. Prince Jr. by name.
These street homie, they're projecting these rules and then coming here playing like they admirable men with street rules and street exit. Nah, homie, them little was set up that night.
Any real dude that's ever really been in LA, he checked in. Any real dude that's ever been in Atlanta, he checked in. If you moving and you getting money, you gonna check in because you need to know the right places to be and places not to be. That's a businessman.
Saying straight up they tried to set him up. Boosie says he barely knew Duke. They met at a dice game. Duke rocked his show the next day, and hours later, Duke's dead in a parking lot. Robbery! Sounds wrong, right? Things aren't matching up, and the streets are asking who really pulled the strings that night. Boosie's calling it straight, a setup, and folks are finally paying attention. Duke wasn't killed in Baton Rouge. He got taken out in Houston, a city Boosie don't control. But guess who does? J. Prince Jr. Even Houston locals are jumping online, shutting down the rumors. One person said, if you from Houston, you know what happened. Boosie had nothing to do with it at all. Another put it raw. Why would Boosie set up a robbery in a city he don't even run? That's bold and straight disrespectful. People are waking up realizing the story don't add up. And then came the heavy shot. Someone flat out named names. Boosie had nothing to do with that man's death. Look at Jay Prince Jr. And guess what? He was right there at that dice table too. The same dude accused of running Houston's notorious check-in system with an iron fist.
Question that occurred that a certain jeweler around and got past the dice on accident and was hitting all them for a couple hundred because, right, boom. The only way they could get their money back was however their money back. Lil Cam Wolf and Big Caprice are the three designated to say I'm up, I got the next, and they pass the dice to each other, but they loaded, but they shooting against them up.
Sources say rappers, influencers, artists, if you pull up in H-Town, you better tap in with the Princes first. And Duke, he played by the rules, checked in, and still ended up gone. That ain't protection. That's predatory. And the chilling part, Takeoff checked in too. And we all know how that ended. Big U been running the same play out west, making artists check in or else. And even when they do, word is some still end up lined up. Rappers like PNB Rock allegedly tapped in, but that didn't save him. Schoolboy Q even said it himself. These so-called check-ins ain't protection, it's straight up extortion dressed up with a smile. That's why Duke the Jeweler's case got folks screaming suspicious from the start. That dice game wasn't just a gamble, it was a trap. And Boosie, he was never the boss in this story. He was the bait sitting at the table while the real players lurked in the shadows. Then it got even louder when Wack 100 jumped into the mix, raw, unfiltered, no filter at all. He flat out said the dice game was a setup. According to Wack, Duke wasn't robbed, he was lined up. And who's he pointing at? None other than Jay Prince Jr.'s own circle, with Lil Cam and the crew allegedly running a rigged dice game where the house always wins, unless somebody slips up. That night, Duke walked straight into a trap, and Wack 100 laid it out clear. He said Duke started hitting dice that weren't meant for him, and that one slip shattered the whole setup. When you break a rigged system built on ego, money, and power, somebody always pays, and Duke paid with his life. Wack claimed Jay Prince has been brainwashing the culture for years, playing the role of protector while secretly pulling strings from the shadows. But Wack wasn't the only one blasting the game wide open. Charleston White chimed in too, and he didn't hold back. Charleston said Duke's death hit harder than most because it didn't have to happen. It was preventable. He pointed straight at mob ties, saying they turned Houston into a death trap for outsiders. Artists come through thinking they'll be safe if they check in, but instead they're tossed into loaded dice games surrounded by sharks. Charleston said Duke wasn't protected, he was played. He checked in with the wrong crew and ended up clipped, not out of disrespect, but out of naivety. That's what makes it even colder. Duke thought he was secure, but really he was just walking into the lion's den. Charleston didn't hold back. He dragged the whole industry. He said this so-called protection is nothing but extortion in disguise, a twisted code where silence means survival. According to him, Duke's death wasn't random at all. It was ritual, and now that silence is breaking, even 50 Cent slid in with his own cryptic moves. 50 didn't say much, but what he did say got people watching. He reposted clips, dropped captions laced with hints, and it felt like he was subtly siding with Boosie. That alone made folks raise eyebrows, because when 50 throws shade, it usually means he knows more than he's saying. Then came the Finesse 2 times mess, and this one lit everything up. Word is Jay Prince Jr. allegedly got Finesse's girl pregnant behind his back, and FNG No Love didn't hesitate to air it out. And what did Jay Prince Jr. do? Nothing. He stayed silent, and that silence had people talking even louder. Finesse, who once praised mob ties like family, don't even speak on them now. He ghosted the whole crew, leaving nothing but cold distance and awkward tension. The loyalty, dead. The vibe, off. Fans are starting to connect the dots. Takeoff's slaying, Boosie's public call-outs, Finesse's fallout. And one name keeps popping up in every single headline. J. Prince Jr. The internet's on fire now. Silence ain't cutting it anymore. The so-called empire built on fear is showing cracks, and folks are saying it out loud. One user wrote, J. Prince has set up so many people and had several people knocked. Another said, J. Prince took him out, not Boosie. The narrative is flipping heavy, and here's why Duke's death hits different. He wasn't just another dude with some diamonds. He was a self-made king straight out of Chicago. No industry handouts, just raw hustle and pure grind. He started back in the early 2000s sketching designs in a cramped little studio, flipping scraps into gold. Before long, his one-of-one creations were on the biggest stages. Vogue, Elle, custom pieces for Rihanna, King Von, 50 Cent, even Boosie. Duke's designs weren't just flashy, they carried legacy, and that's what made him dangerous to the system. His stock rose fast, and in an industry built on power plays, independence is always seen as a threat. Duke didn't just stumble into the wrong place. He stepped straight into a lion's den, dripping in gold, trusting faces that weren't really friends. Sources say he ran up over $100,000 that night at the dice table, cleaning house, but that win might have sealed his fate. Hours later, he was robbed, stripped of his ice, his cash, his phone, and shot multiple times like someone wanted him erased. Not just robbed. The wound still stings across the industry because Duke's loss wasn't random. It was personal. This wasn't just some robbery. It looked like a well-planned execution. Duke's death felt personal, deliberate. And now Boosie's out here fighting to clear his name, swearing he had nothing to do with it. When footage surfaced of Boosie reacting to Duke's passing, the man looked crushed, couldn't even put words together, like he truly didn't see it coming. And maybe, just maybe, he didn't. But now J. Prince Sr. is firing shots of his own. Boosie flipped the whole script, pointing at him as the one setting people up. But the streets ain't buying Jay's defense either. Why? Because Takeoff got gunned down in the same city, and the coroner said he was hit in the head and torso multiple times. That doesn't sound like no stray bullet. That sounds like a hit. J. Prince Sr. tried clapping back at Whack 100 for backing Boosie, calling him a clown, calling him loud, but the bigger issue is fear, silence, and fake protection. This check-in culture forces artists to bow down just to move through a city they don't control, and even when they play the game, they're still not safe. Duke's death didn't just take a legend from the jewelry game, it cracked open the whole industry and exposed how dirty it really gets. Boosie says he was the bait, finessed 2 times, fell back, and Takeoff checked in but still died. Now J. Prince Sr. looks like he's scrambling, but the question lingers, if this is just the beginning, who's next to speak up or vanish into silence? What do you think really went down? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one.